Hi guys, welcome back to TV Spoilers. Today I'm going to reveal to you a hot new couple. Facing emotional pressure from her family, Sharon is on the verge of a breakdown. At this moment, she probably needs a shoulder to lean on and care for her. It's not the tension of a family argument or a secret revealed in the living room, but the pressure that suffocates her every breath. Mariah and Dominic have disappeared, and every passing minute feels like an invisible accusation aimed straight at the mother's heart. Sharon tries to stay strong, but the more she tries, the more she feels her body and mind being pulled by two opposing forces. On one side, the instinct to act immediately. On the other, the terrible fear that all efforts might be too late. She wonders what she missed, where she was blind, what worries she was preoccupied with that prevented her from noticing her daughter's downward spiral. This remorse is not just ordinary guilt. It was like a dull ache spreading through her chest, preventing her from sleeping soundly, eating properly, and worst of all, from looking in the mirror without seeing a Sharon who had failed in her role of protecting the one she loved most. At the very moment Sharon thought she was about to break, Burrow appeared like a solid structure in the storm. He didn't come with empty promises, didn't paint a false picture of hope, and that made Sharon trust him instinctively. Burrow entered the investigation with the calmness of someone all too familiar with seeing families shattered by loss, and that very calmness became what Sharon clung to. He commanded, organized, and pieced together the desperate leads into a traceable chain, giving Sharon's despair for the first time the form of a plan. For Sharon, the most terrifying aspect of the tragedy wasn't just the absence of Mariah and Dominic, but the feeling of powerlessness in the face of chaos. Burrow didn't erase her fear, but he transformed it into something confrontable, something to break down, something to move forward with step by step. Sharon began to realize she needed more than just an investigation. She needed someone who would stand by her even in the ugliest, most chaotic moments. When no one had the patience to listen to a mother repeatedly ask the same question, what if I had seen it sooner? Their bond began in those silences. When Sharon could no longer speak, Burrow was there, not pressuring her, not making her feel like a burden. He understood that sometimes a person breaking down doesn't need comfort. They need presence. Sharon, accustomed to being strong and playing the role of healer for others, for the first time allowed herself to be vulnerable in front of a man who didn't demand she act. She shared fears she had never dared to voice to anyone, not because she wanted advice, but because she could no longer contain them alone. She spoke of not recognizing Mariah's symptoms sooner, of moments when she deceived herself into thinking it was just a difficult phase that would pass, of the horror of the thought that one day Dominic would grow up with the memory of a disappearance that no one could prevent. And Burrow listened in a way that made Sharon feel her confession wasn't being judged. He didn't make her the cause of the tragedy. He saw her as a person enduring a situation beyond her control. The new clues emerged, and everything was immediately stretched into another level. Every small piece of information, every vague sign, could be a glimmer of hope or a trap leading to a dead end. Sharon lived in a state of constant tension. Her heart pounded at the first sign of a new direction, then sank when things didn't lead anywhere. Burrow, in his role as the lead investigator, had to keep his team focused and alert, but also had to deal with a harsh reality. Sharon wasn't a cold, detached witness or an ordinary family member standing outside the boundaries of their profession. She was part of the story, and her emotions could ruin everything if left unchecked. But instead of pushing Sharon away to maintain professionalism, Burrow chose to pull her just close enough so she wouldn't fall into the abyss. He knew Sharon needed to feel involved, understood, and grasp a piece of reality rather than just sitting there waiting for news like a captive. And honestly, what really captivated me about the story wasn't just the rescue or the intense investigation. It was the raw, real feeling of how people cling to each other when sharing a trauma. Some bonds aren't born of romance, but out of survival. Sharon and Burrow were like two people standing together in a hospital hallway at midnight, with nothing left to say but unable to leave, because leaving would mean they'd facing their fear alone. And I think the scariest part is, sometimes it is the darkest moments that create an undeniable light. Sharon might be wondering if she's mistaking her emotions for something else because of the pressure. On our TV Spoilers channel, I always seek content inspiration for each video by compiling short video clips to analyze and offer my personal opinions. This channel specializes in analyzing, theorizing, and discussing plot points in the Y&R and the Restless series from the perspective of a longtime fan. Through this, viewers can gain deeper, more objective, and more interesting perspectives. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated on the latest news about the Y&R and the Restless series.